Matthew Swinnerton here with Geoff Weirs from the Expendables. How you doing, Geoff?
Hey, great. How are you, Matthew?
Good. We're here where the magic happens. So is this, we're going to talk about, you have a new album coming out. You have actually new songs
Yeah.
that are currently being dropped right now.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, was it made here?
Yeah, well, actually, the album that came out is a live record.
Okay.
So I went on tour with Eric Racamani doing acoustic solo stuff, and I recorded every show, got the recordings and brought them here, and then mixed them, and my friend Kenny mastered them.
That is so cool. So you can do a chunk of it
A
right here.
huge chunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's amazing.
That's cool. Okay, so we're gonna talk about that, but I want to focus this whole interview on moments.
Yeah.
So this is the moments of Geoff. Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to okay, start off with like, was there a time or a moment where you were young and music had an effect on you? Like you got an album for the first time, or you saw somebody play and just it struck you like, wow, music is really cool.
I definitely I think Michael Jackson, the Thriller
goodness.
album. I remember very young putting that record on my Fisher Price record player and running to the bathroom to wet the front part of my hair to get the cool Jerry curl
Oh my
going.
goodness.
And I would see him on MTV. That's when MTV was, in the 80s was brand new and
I remember
really
Thriller
cool.
came out that day. They played it like 3 times.
Dude.
It was a big
And
moment.
it was like a whole a
Yeah.
mini movie, the
Yep.
whole thing.
Yep.
And
John
I remember
Landis.
trying to like recreate the dance moves
Oh my goodness.
and play that pretty much that song over and over, but
Yeah.
probably the record over and over. But that song, I think that was the first moment where music really affected me.
I'm super fascinated with Michael Jackson recently. Whatever, I don't know what the crazy stuff that happened or did not happen, but the music he plays and he produced, it's never been replicated.
No.
He has such a different style.
Yeah.
I mean, just an amazing. I think there's genius in him.
Absolutely.
music
I
he
mean,
has.
as a child, I mean, he's been a performer and a singer and an artist since he was a child. So there's probably lots. He got his 10,000 hours in.
Oh yeah.
By the time he was 8. So I think that has a lot to do with it. He was just dripping in music and performance, and his mind was so far ahead of everybody in thinking about new ways to entertain, thinking about new ways to dance, thinking about ways to make songs. And plus, he worked with Quincy Jones,
Yeah.
who's like a great producer, like great. And the grooves and the arrangements that were that Michael Jackson had to work with Quincy, I mean, are timeless, and the performances of those, the people that perform those parts on those recordings are so good. And they're all, done without the digital age, without being able to like kind of really edit things. And so everything is a, more or less live feel or like real musicianship shining through, which I think has a lot to do with the vibe. You're hearing
yeah.
like real performances from real good musicians.
I watched We Are the World documentary. I think that's what it was. Yeah, and it they have all these musicians that had this like there many of them they had like, okay, I'm too big, or like I'll come when I come, very diva-ish.
Yeah, yeah.
He was there, first person there,
Yeah.
and he's working it.
Yeah.
And that's why he's a big part of the album.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even the original, it's Lionel Richie and Quincy Jones that were like kind of first spearheading, but because he put the work in, was there, it became part of his, like he's did some of the main parts.
Yeah, it seems like he really cared about what was going on.
Sorry, okay, that was a tangent. Okay, but that's the moment of music. That was an amazing moment of music. What about for you? Like, what about when it became more of, not just, okay, I'm a consumer of music, to like, wait a minute, I could play this.
I mean, for us in the Expendables, like Expendables started in high school, and we were just kind of having fun, playing whatever songs we could cover, lots of kind of old throwback tunes.
It was local high school, right?
Yeah, SoCal High.
Oh my
yeah.
goodness. Yeah.
We graduated in 99, so like mid 90s, mid to late 90s, we were, kind of just messing around. It was something really fun to do. And I learned how to play in a band through the jazz band at SoCal High. Mr. Stewart, he was awesome, and we had to be up early in the morning to be at jazz band class. 7 in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I think it was. So that was how I kind of cut my teeth on like jamming all the time.
What were you playing?
I play guitar.
Like even then you were playing guitar.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't really start singing until kind of a little later. I took choir, but I didn't really think of singing as like an instrument
Yeah.
for quite some time, well into the Expendables
That's funny.
career. I don't know why. I just think it was something that I did, but it was not something where it was like a skill to work on until kind of later. But like I think the moment, it's kind of hard to pick an exact like day, but it was when we started to be able to play the Catalyst as the Expendables, opening for bigger bands. I think that's when things started to kind of click because people, you could tell by the reaction in the crowd that our music was hitting in a way.
It was resonating, yeah.
Yeah. And then when we started to be able to take it to other towns, our friends who went to college after high school booked us or, invited us to come play their backyard parties. The crowds were reacting down there too, all over California, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, San Diego, Chico, Fresno, all the, the big time fun party schools. I think around that era is like when it started to be like, okay, this could be something. Yeah. And I think everybody in the band had the same sort of goals and vision of like what could be, and it just drove us to make it happen and do everything we could to make it happen. We all didn't really have fallback plans. There wasn't like there
was no plan B.
No, not really. Yeah. I think we all just really wanted to make it happen. I think that was a key part of it. None of us had families or really important jobs or we're stuck with school. Like there was nobody going like, oh dude, I got to do this, so I can't make that, or I can't do that. It's all like, oh, we got this show going on, we're going. Like, how are we going to make it happen?
I think that's almost the only way that it's going to happen. Taylor Ray is a local musician. She moved to Austin, but she always said that I have no plan B. Yeah. There's no way that I can do anything else. Right. This is what I'm going to do. And look where it got you. Yeah. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Because if you don't have that, it's like, okay, it's easier. Maybe I'll just go get a job or something. Right. Yeah. And then that's really cool. Okay, so you got me thinking then. So you're playing these shows. It's becoming real. Like, what's a moment where you're like, this is? Let's start off with maybe live. What was like a moment you're playing a show? You're like, this is amazing. Like it's all coming together now. Was there that moment, or is it just that's more of like an era?
I think it's more of an era. Like, I mean, I feel like I think the first time we started to like play outside of Santa Cruz, doing like a small tour. We did a small tour with Eka Mouse, and that was a grind. I mean, we were the band that showed up, set up all the gear, sound checked our gear, played our set, left our gear up there so Eka Mouse's band could play on our gear.
You have to wait for them to do
and then they would get off stage and get back to their hotel, and then we break it all down, put it in our van, and head to the next show.
That's like glamorized roadies almost.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It's like totally, taking advantage of whatever, But we were totally down for it. It was the best time ever.
Yeah.
And he was a huge influence on me. Like his Eka Mouse was the first reggae show I ever went to. And then after going to that, I was like a reggae fan for life.
That's cool.
So, I mean, when we started doing that, and then we got signed to Stupid Records and Silverback Management, and then that's kind of when I was able to quit my job at Garden Deli and Liquor. That was when it kind of was like, okay, this is real. This is really real. And we were gone on tour for, months at a time, and that kind of just, since then, it's been pretty much the same as far as, year after year. It's just like play more shows, make more albums. And it's just kind of been that.
Is there something that like, I don't know, like I say this sometimes with certain bands where it's like there's the rawness and the newness of your early years, it's even though you're not maybe playing the biggest places, but just like the newness and specialness of we're opening for this big band.
Yeah.
We're here. Like
Yeah.
there's something exciting about that for
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. Like everything is new. Nowadays
Yeah.
we go on tour, we've been to these venues, we've been on
Yeah.
like I've
You know what
been
the
to the
bathroom
same
is.
town. Yeah, everything kind of is more normalized where when you're first starting out, it's so fresh and there's such a like you have this fantasy that you're actually fulfilling like before you're on the road or before you're doing these venues or opening for these bigger bands, you have these fantasies about doing that, and then when you're actually doing it, you're like, okay, you're kind of comparing your fantasies to the reality, and it's like sometimes reality is like blowing away your fantasy, sometimes it's not, sometimes being on the road is not easy, so like you're like, oh man, this is a grind, like oh crap, I don't want to wake up right now, I'm hungover or whatever it is. There's some hardships and there's some like amazing moments, and it all kind of blends together, but it's also fresh, and I didn't travel much before I was on the road, and then you're spending all this time in all these different places experiencing different people, and it's just so new and so fresh that every experience is like
It's like intensified
yeah
everything. Yeah.
everything is just so fun, and I think it comes through in the music, I think it comes through in the show from those
Yeah.
in that era. You're just there's an excitement, everybody we're jamming on stage and you're looking at your buddy in the band, you're like, dude, no way,
This is
hey,
amazing.
this is what
Yeah.
and it just snowballs, and you just kind of keep this energetic level, and plus you're young, and then now it's still fun, but like there's other things going on. We've done nothing is as fresh feeling as it was. Maybe if we went overseas and played, Japan or a big tour in Europe, or
I think it's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just different. Like, I mean, you mentioned like there's maybe not as much hardships as much as it was then, but the hardships are actually, I think, a lot of times they make the highs even higher.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like I know for me, if I put on an event, like it's stressful. Are people coming? Are things going to happen? Like
Yeah.
it's like, and you're putting on a show, and it's like you're putting your heart out.
Yeah.
You're playing in front of people that are staring at you, and like, okay, that show didn't work, but then the next one's like, that was epic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And there's always something like on tour, especially if you have kind of a wonky show or something kind of doesn't go right. You go to bed that night going, well, I get another crack at it tomorrow in a different town for a whole different amount of people.
Yeah.
And that's empowering in itself, because you keep getting at bats at these cool venues and cool crowds. And plus we were opening for Slightly Stupid. Those were our first tours. And so their crowd was very receptive to our sound.
Yeah.
Plus we were signed to Stupid's label, so Stupid was kind of talking us up. So there was a lot of great acceptance from the crowd that I think really set us on a path that I'm super grateful for, because it's like they really took us under their wing and gave us wings to like soar off. That's really cool.
Well, how about even in town? Like, I cannot think of a band in town that has more like admiration. Like, everybody feels like the Expendables are our band. Yeah, I mean, it just feels that like everybody is like super pumped. I mean, there's Expendables Day. Now we talk about
It's fucking great.
yeah, and it's like I don't know, like I've never got more texts or excitements from people when like we had you at our Midtown show than anywhere. Like, I can't believe they're playing. They're so
that's so
excited,
cool.
and there's something about there is like you have like this push from Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're elevating you. Like, you're
Yeah.
awesome. Keep going. Yeah, I think that's really cool. Okay, let's talk about another moment. So now, you are releasing some of your own music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is now the moment you do that? Like, have you done that in the past?
No.
That's what I thought. I was looking. I couldn't find anything. So just sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, this is the first time you've released your music.
Yeah. So this kind of endeavor into doing my own stuff is really from the pandemic. The pandemic shut down the music industry. It was like a super scary time. Didn't know what was going on. And I had the need to play somewhere. And so I just got my acoustic guitar and had a looper and got this cool battery generator and started just busking. I would go, me and my partner and our kid, our kid was, what, 3 years old, I think. She was born in 2018, so 3 or 4 years old. And it was something for us to do all as a family. We'd load up in the van, go park on West Cliff, go park on East Cliff, go anywhere where there's kind of some beach and a place to park and a place where I can open the van and set up the gear and just play.
So
And we would do it in Capitola Village, and just playing over during that time, all music was shut down, all social gathering was shut down. So like people hearing live music really, the people that were listening were really relieved. I could just see it on their faces. People would pass by and just sit and look so relaxed, or you could see smiles, or like people were just so stoked to hear a live person playing live music.
Oh, I saw that. I saw when we started putting like music out for the first
Yeah.
time after pandemic. It was like people were giddy almost.
Yeah, it
Like,
was-
oh, like I'm in front of somebody that's
Right.
singing, not just like I'm watching a Zoom of somebody from their living
Exactly.
room. Yeah.
And there's something. I mean, I think a lot of people forgot how much how valuable live music is, and so once that was taken away, and they didn't have it, they're like, there's something missing in life. And then when you hear just one dude just jamming, I think it kind of brought all those feelings back of like, oh man, this is something I need. And so doing that kind of turned into me playing some small events, with private parties, private backyard little things that were kind of like, we're getting together, but it's pandemic, so keep your mask on or don't tell anybody. So it was kind of like this, it was during the time of Prohibition and we were making booze or something. It's kind of the way it felt, it's like doing something illegal.
Yeah.
Playing music like Footloose, So there was this excitement, and I played for a couple of really cool groups. And so that kind of gave me this sense that like maybe this is a need in the world, or this is something I can provide that I can do outside of the band, where I can do it all by myself and I don't have to ask anybody's permission, or it just was satisfying to me. And I was playing stuff that, I created on my own, and felt good.
That's something that's probably nice to do that. Like, in a band structure, it's a collaboration. And it's really
Right.
cool to have that because things get elevated and other
Right.
stuff. But it's also nice to like, okay, I want this purely me.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
there's like, I love the Expendables. I love the boys. It's great creating with them, but there's also a satisfaction in doing it all yourself and having the controls. And as an artist, I think sometimes we're all pretty control freaky
Oh,
about
yeah.
our vision. And so I'm getting to fulfill my vision of, artistic expression gets to be fulfilled the way I see it. And it's satisfying. And then seeing, the crowd reaction to, me and the way I put things together is satisfying too. And I kind of, there's no one to blame it on either. Like if, something goes bad and people don't like something, it's like, well,
It's kind of going back to
there's
early
no one
days.
around.
Yeah.
It's all on me. So maybe I could, improve here or
Yeah.
tweak something there. And so it's a freeing thing, and it's at the same time a little vulnerable. But that's, I think, part of growing as an artist is being used to that vulnerability and lean into it. And I think that's what people like to see in an artist, is the kind of the parts that you're a little shy of, kind of put it out there, and it kind of gives this authenticity that people can relate to, because I think a lot of people that are in the audience don't have that ability to kind of put it all out there on the line and be exposed to judgment or whatever like that. And I think it's relieving for people to see that.
And you can relate to it more. Like, I know for me, musicians, I like when I hear the voice and there's a crack to it. It's like angst to it, or something more than a super equalized whatever.
Right.
It's like, hey, he's really singing. Whatever. Yeah.
And as an artist, I'm like, I don't want to crack. I want to be perfect. I want
Yeah.
to be all this, but
Yeah.
the perfect isn't where the vibes are.
Yeah,
It's
the energy of like,
imperfection.
I don't know. Yeah, I also like, I love that you're playing a Capitola Village or like anywhere on the beach. Like, most people that probably walked by, they're not thinking, oh, there's the lead singer of the Expendables.
no.
It's just like, it's kind of like going back, 25 years.
Yeah, no,
You're like,
it's-
it's playing again. Like, that's a really cool. You
Yeah.
have that outlet and you let yourself do that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
felt really good.
Out of the comfort
I love
zone.
being recognized as an Expendables guy, but there's something cool about just being the dude that's providing some music to your you sitting down having coffee and looking at the ocean.
Exactly.
I'm just a little soundtrack to make things a little sweeter, but like I don't have to be paid attention to. I don't have to be like this entertainer really. I'm just playing what feels good to me, and someone else is just enjoying. Just simple of enjoyment.
So what can we expect for this album? Like what is it acoustic? It's just you and acoustic guitar singing. Okay, so it's like those two together. There's just you raw. Like what when you like pitch this album, what do you like kind of talk about?
It's a live record. Yeah. So pandemic led to me going on the street and busking, and then I scored a tour with Eric Rachmani from Revolution. He does a winter tour where he's doing acoustic, and it's him and his guitar player just doing these acoustic versions of Revolution songs. And so I got the opening slot on that, and we did about 10 shows or so on the West Coast, and it was awesome. Got to play in front of, it almost brought me back to how it was to start in the Expendables, like that kind of newness, because I'm doing it all on my own. Like every show was kind of like, oh, how's this gonna go? And I would loop. So I have my guitar, I loop my guitars, and I like play the beats on my on the body of the guitar and just do what I can to entertain. But I recorded every one of those shows, and so I took all the recordings back, popped them into here, did some mixing, and now that's what you're hearing on this new record. Is called Loopin' Live, and it's me on tour with Eric Rachmani, and it's a collection of a lot of the shows, like the best sounding recordings from all the shows. And so I think it's pretty much the set I played. I think it's like 7 songs, and it's a mixture of my own songs that I've released and some different renditions of Expendables songs.
That is so cool because I feel like I don't know. I'm always a big. I love music when it is like it just feels real and there, and that's what you looping playing the beats on your guitar are just like on or playing guitar. That is awesome. Like that is like rawness of music.
Yeah. Like anything could go wrong. Like a couple of times I'd hit the wrong button, the whole thing would shut off, and I'm like, oh. So there's this very...
But nobody cares about it. You care more than they do, right? Yeah.
I do. Yeah, like, it's true. I care a lot about how it sounds and how good I do. And, like, that's always this pressure. And it's only on me. But, yeah, I think the fact that people can tell that there's, like, a catastrophe right on the horizon about to happen, and it never does, or maybe it does happen, but, like, that almost catastrophe feeling is kind of what makes
There's
it
a little edge to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the album comes out March 7th?
March 7th, yeah.
March 7th,
yeah.
okay, so it comes out March 7th.
The first single dropped today.
Okay, and today's
Friday
like
the 7th.
Okay, Friday the 7th. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you can listen to that now. And it comes out on the 7th. What moments are you, okay, it drops then. Like, what moment are you looking forward to coming up this year? Is it that moment? Are you excited about, like, are you stressed about that moment when it comes out? Or,
no. I'm excited for it, because this is basically a thing. It's been sitting, I mean, I went on that tour in 2022, so I've had these tracks for a long time, and I'm more relieved that it's coming out finally. There's been a couple bumps in the road on the way to kind of hold back the release date, so I'm really stoked that it's actually coming out, and it's something that I can show to people that care. Like I don't have this huge fan base, like it's me, and it's a way for me to kind of just put out there so people know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I have plans to put out even more music that's not necessarily the looping acoustic stuff. I have a lot of songs that are on this hard drive here that don't make it to Expendables world, that just kind of aren't going anywhere, and I want to put that out, and I'm proud of some of this stuff, and I'd rather be in the world than be on the hard drive. And I have hopes and dreams that all people listen to it a billion times, and it works that way. But for my small core fans, I hope that that's something cool to them, and they can hear a little bit more about who I am through some of these songs. They're a little bit more personal, a little bit more. They're not necessarily just the reggae rock stuff. There's a lot of different kind of feels and vibes in there that, like I said, it doesn't make it to Expendables world. So it's just more of a expose into my creativity and some of my more different styles that you might not hear from Expendables.
I love that you have too. Like you have, I guess, or we live in a time where you can actually release this music, get it
Right,
out there.
right.
Like there's, I mean, and also too that you have like some bands are like, okay, we only came up with 9 songs that we could thought of for the whole album, and you can tell there was 2 singles.
Yeah.
And the rest of it was like full of like you have content that you want to
Yeah.
bring out, and that's really a cool feeling to have that backlog.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's some of this, I don't know how good it is, but to me, when I hear it, I'm like, yeah.
Nice.
And that's, and that's what's so cool about this era. Like, it
Yep.
costs nothing to put music out. So that's cool. Like, I'll just put it out. And if people like it, they do. If they don't, all right. At least I'm putting it out and it's not just hiding in this computer.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of art, is to just put it out. And if people like it, they do. If they don't, they don't. But it's there.
And your kid 50 years later will say like, look what my dad produced.
Yeah. And they could be like, oh my God, my dad's so lame, or whatever it is.
Well, no, that time they'll do it. Right now they say you're lame. Later on, then they'll be back like, oh, he actually was cool. Yeah, I saw him at stage and whatever. Yeah. Okay, so if people want to find out about your music, what's like the best like first place to go?
I mean, you could visit Spotify, Geoff Weirs music, or Geoff Weirs? I think it's Geoff Weirs. But Geoff Weirs music on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's where I spend a lot of my time interacting with people and spreading when music is put out. And so that's the most effective way to kind of keep in touch with me is Instagram, Geoff Weirs music, at Geoff Weirs music. I'm pretty active on there as far as answering DMs and staying connected, because I want to connect with people.
Awesome, cool. Okay, well, we're gonna take a pause here. Gonna play a couple songs. But,
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Geoff.
Oh, dude, cheers.
Thanks.
My pleasure.